Well, hello, hello, hello. This is the Tao Manifesting Tarot. This is the most unusual tarot reading anywhere. Certainly on the internet, I am not aware of anybody else doing tarot like I do it, and I do it for a very specific reason. One, I want to bring in a real dose of reality. I've done tarot for over 20 years. From my point of view, it doesn't predict a damn thing. It's interesting, but it doesn't predict anything. In 20 years, I've discovered tarot's real purpose is your potential. Because that's what you're talking about in a tarot reading. You're talking about cards. You're talking about putting those cards together in some sort of a symbolic way, creating a kind of message. And that message should give you encouragement, should give you inspiration. That message is your kryptonite. I want to keep it clear. I want to keep it clean. So that's 20 years of tarot. But along with that, I also lean on my 50 years of astrology and numerology because those are the sciences of cycles. Cycles within cycles within cycles. You've heard people say that history repeats itself, and it's true because cycles repeat themselves. And so tuning in to the frequencies that you would pick up on in terms of numerology and astrology, you can pick up cycles. You can get a newborn baby, do a chart on them, and you can, without specificity in many cases, but you can kind of follow their life path. What kind of person will they be? What kind of characteristics will they have? And you can also pick the high spots and low spots in their life. Well, they just been born. How the hell does that happen? Because apparently, either when we're conceived or when we are born, there must be some sort of a frequency stamp on us, and that kind of guides our life. So there is an element of fate. The tarot comes in terms of, as you are following the fate, as you are living through your cycles, how you react, what's the potential, what's the energy, and that's why I combine them all together to give you a good, clear picture. Most astrologers, most tarot readers, and many numerologists, just because of the complexity, they give you chop suey. You can't make heads or tails out of it. I get so frustrated. You know, like I said, I've done tarot for 20. I've looked at other tarot readers. By the time they're done with their reading, they threw so many cards out on the table. You go, what the hell are you talking about? What am I supposed to do with this? Well, you're supposed to pick and choose what feels good to you. Yeah, good luck with that. We see how successful that works. Just take a look at the world around us. Same thing, by the way, with numerology and astrology. You know, when you start talking about cycles within cycles within cycles, you get lost in the sauce. So what I do is I surgically pare those three things down and put them together in a message. For example, the numerology, astrology, think of it as a really nice dinner that you're putting together for yourself and your friends. No expense spared. It's just your favorites, the best, and everybody get it. And so you can see this table out in front of you. And the tarot is the meal itself. That's the destination. But you have to know, are you standing in mud? Are you standing in water? Are you standing on sand? That's what the astrology, numerology will tell you. Now, the tarot says, depending on where you are, maybe you want to use this tarot energy in this fashion. Today, we're talking about between two worlds, and that's where we find ourselves, here, there, and nowhere. Here, there, and nowhere. And that's very, under normal circumstances, discombobulating, confusing for people. As much as people bitch about routine, they really kind of depend on routine. And even those people who really don't have observable routines, that's their routine. Take them out of it, and they're lost. So we are between two separate worlds, and we're in neither one. And the messages that we're getting are very threatening, very cold, very frightening, very unsettling. So what I want to do is use the astrology, numerology to tell you, okay, this is kind of the feeling that we're living through right now, and here's a little historic point. This was the last time we were in this position, or one of the times. And now you take that tarot energy and apply it. For example, we have the birthday of the United States of America coming up next summer, July 24th, 2026. Be 250 years. 250 years ago, we were in the revolution, right? Well, what did we have? Two major planets that are dealing with one another. And I always focus on the faraway planets because they really are generational. And the two planets were Pluto and Uranus. Pluto means evolution. But evolution does not have to be good. You know, you could be developing a third arm out your ass. That's evolution. Is it going to do you much good? Well, I suppose it'll help you wipe your ass, I suppose. But you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be good. And then the planet Uranus talks about revolution. So we got evolution, revolution. What did we have 250 years ago when we revolted here in America? Those are the two things. By the way, just a few years later, France had its own revolution as well. So the energy sticks around for a little while, and that's what it's doing now. We're in the middle of an evolution-revolution cycle, and it goes back 250 years. You see how that gives you kind of a perspective? So we're stuck between two worlds, here, there, and nowhere, and we have to try to deal with this craziness that we call life. Before we move on with this thing, I want to remind you, I have made a specific attempt to get this email, tau-tarot@proton.me. Contact me there. I don't have a link. You're going to have to write it in. I'm not that sophisticated. I'm 75, so I'm not really that comfortable with this technology. But at least I got the email sense, tau-tarot@proton.me. And I will pay attention every day. I'll go in there, check, make comments, or respond to your emails at tau-tarot@proton.me. I thank you for any kind of consideration that you give me in that regard. So going back, here, there, and nowhere. That's the manifesting deal for today. It's important to manifest because this comes from your spirit if you do it right. And we really do it right in the sense that we know how to do it, but we tend to be negative as human beings. We're programmed that way. So we go, I can't, I won't, even if you say the words positively, what your heart, what your soul, what your spirit feels is, no, I'm not going to get this. And you end up not getting it. And you go, see, manifesting doesn't work. Yeah, it does all the time. In little ways, we got to shift you over, inspire you, get you moving forward so that you manifest from your spirit. And as I said, we do that combining the tarot, power of your potential, and astrology, the power of cycles. That's how it all works out. We are here to make you stronger, to exercise that kryptonite that God gave you. So we got that all set up. How about if we get to the astrology, the astrologic? For the last couple of weeks, I've been focusing on something because we do have the 250th anniversary of the United States of America coming up in about a year, a little less. And so I'm taking a look at the conquest of America, because that's really what happened. As I look backward and study history, almost from the time that the Europeans came from primarily Britain, but certainly France, Spain, and Germany, we have had this battle going on for the European powers to take over the colonies. And that power has been run, orchestrated, and energized by the bankers, largely the Jew bankers, but not exclusively. It started when they, and I'm talking specifically the Rothschilds, were able to get the Bank of England started. The King of England wanted to go to war. He didn't have any money. The Rothschilds stepped in and said, hey, you know what? We can put together some stuff, but we want to start this brand new bank. We want to call it the Bank of England. You don't have anything to do with it. I mean, you can be a shareholder, and of course the King and Queen and royalty there are, but we run the bank. The minute that they got that in the late 1600s, they began to get very ambitious. And of course, with the colonies, American colonies being here and primarily British, they figured, okay, we're going to extend our power. We're going to take our control of America. And from that time on, they have done that. And they're doing it more and more. In fact, to the point where those bankers, those same people essentially, run our country. Period. Whatever they want, forget who they put in the White House. Doesn't make any difference. That's a puppet. whoever they put in the White House, they have visits from men in dark suits telling them this is what you're going to do or we'll kill you. And we know they've done that in the past. We'll cover that as we move through the history of America. But today we're stopping at 1791. So we start the war and we wrap it up. And by 1791, the bankers in Europe are looking to put bankers here in America, people that they control. So they started in 1791 with the First National Bank of America. It was a key part of Alexander Hamilton's plan to stabilize the nation's finances after the Revolutionary War, which needed to be stabilized, by the way. There had to be some sort of an order. Problem is when you look at him, Alexander Hamilton was a fascist banker himself. Absolutely. Married someone in the Rothschild family. You knew where he was coming from. And so there was this opposition in America. Remember, we just had the revolution. They said, wait a minute, we don't want the First National Bank of America. You guys print paper money. There's no control over the value. There's no control over anything. No, we don't want the paper money. And you guys also control the credit and the loans. You control the flow of money. That was strictly intentional. And either tomorrow or the following day, I'm going to talk about a Rothschild who said that exactly. And what he described was Rothschild fascism. They wanted to control America just like they controlled England. That's why you notice in the news today, America, England have this relationship. It's because it's the Rothschild banking thing. And then you tie in Israel, Rothschilds. You tie in Germany in some regards because the Rothschild family started in the 1500s out of Germany. Not doing banking per se, but business. So there's a link to all of this. This is not pulling it out of our butts. So Alexander Hamilton, who I know he wrote the Federalist Papers, but in my estimation he was a fascist, tried to set up the First National Bank. It went for 20 years, and they tried to do it again. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But the opposition said, no, paper money, we don't trust it. You guys can screw with it too much. And on top of the fact that you control credit and loaning, and this is a bad deal. They were right. We didn't pay attention. The planets involved, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. All of them in, I think it was air sign and fire signs, if I'm not mistaken. Neptune and Pluto were retrograde. This was not a good situation. This was going to work out poorly. It turned out 20 years after their 20-year run, it did end. But it wasn't without a lot of pain. So here we go with the meme for today. They say life is too short to hold grudges. Well, I think life is too short to let people get away with the same shit. And I agree 100%. And that's where we are. We're stuck between two worlds. We understand that these people have been screwing us. And they've been screwing us for hundreds of years. Are we going to say enough? Or are we going to just roll over again and hand them a jar of Vaseline in the process? The missing link talks about, I will say, Zionists specifically, but you can expand that. Here you have, I believe, a mother saying, or no, a teacher saying to a person, well, your son has been expelled 109 times. And the father's going, well, yes, but it's never been his fault. It's always been the schools persecuting for no reason. Did you know that the Jews have been kicked out of over 200 countries in the world in the last several thousand years, more than 200? And some of those countries let them back in. So they've been kicked out of countries over 1,000 times. But of course, it's not their fault. No, of course not. We move on to the Tarot, Seven of Swords. This is the card where people go, oh, he's stealing, he's running away, he's hiding. No, he's not. He's stealthy, he's using cunning, he's using his brain. But the two swords in the back, that's the decision. Two in tarot, always decision. He has 2 points of information, 2 things that he knows that tell him to get the hell away. So he's taking what he knows is true for him, the 5 other swords, and he's leaving. He says, I'm not going to play that game anymore. I know the truth. In so doing, he has to make that step of faith. It's a spontaneous journey. You may decide that you've had enough and surprise yourself at the decision. You go, hell, I never thought I'd do this, but you have no choice. It's spontaneous. You know the truth. You're leaving the bullshit behind. And when you do that, like the fool, you have the strong push of faith. I can do it. You become optimistic. You become empowered. And that takes us to the final card, the Magician. That's where the magic happens. When you decide for yourself, I'm tired of the crap, I'm tired of the lies, I'm tired of the bullshit, I'm going to go forward believing that I can have it better. I may not have a perfect life, but I can make it better for me. That's when the magic happens. Works that way very nicely. We're out of time for today. Thank you so much. As always, you make this worthwhile, and I can't thank you enough. Hey, by the way, like and subscribe. They're getting really sneaky, really tricky on the internet. They want to stop this stuff because they know that people are starting to wake up. Like and subscribe. You can help every podcaster. So, between now and the next time you and I do this Tao Manifesting Tarot thing together, peace and blessings.